Okay, here we go with the RCA Victor 8X541 AM radio. Interestingly, I found a newspaper ad, it was probably a magazine ad online someplace, and it had the radio in it, and it shows $21.95. Interesting. Do the math in today's numbers. And welcome back to the bench. This is Fred B. Radio. Yes. So when I left off, the last part of my last video was all about a resurrection I was going to do on a RCA 8X541 tube radio. It looked like it was in pretty good shape. The back wasn't staying on, but figured I could do something with that. And so I started looking into it. After I went online, if you remember from the video, the back was just flopping around. And I'll show it to you closer, but these little clips were missing to hold it into the Bakelite. So I went on eBay, and sure enough, they had them. Okay, so I spent my $25 and bought my little clips. Then I started looking at the radio. Well, unfortunately, it's not a resurrection. This is a complete rebuild. There isn't a resistor that's anywhere near being in tolerance. Obviously, all the capacitors have to be changed. The oscillator wasn't running. That's why when I tried running it when you guys were on last week, radio didn't play. Well, testing it out, I found that the oscillator wasn't running. And it's real easy to do. You take another radio and you put it next to it and you turn the dial, and if one's interfering with the other, the oscillator's running. But in this case, it wasn't running. Okay? So I get into it a little bit further, realized that somebody else was in this radio before me. I don't know if this radio has ever worked since they got in there, but I'm assuming it did work. And I'm going to get into showing you a lot of the things, but one thing I didn't notice right off the bat was the second IF transformer was changed. I don't know if it's the right replacement for it. I don't even know if it tunes 455. So these are things I'm going to have to look into. But in the meantime, checking all the parts, I realized I don't have everything I need at this point. I mean, there's resistors of odd values that I didn't have, and I'm not going to double up or parallel or series resistors just to make it right. That's not the way I do things. So I'm either going to have to run over to the local electronics store and buy from him or order them online. I think later this evening I might just go online and order the parts I need, and so it'll be probably a week before they come in. But in the meantime, I'll show you the radio where I'm at. I'll give you an idea. I'm not going to post I tested the tubes and recorded all of that, and boy, it's boring. So I'm not going to do the tubes. Believe me, I tested the tubes. There was one bad tube. Others were marginal, but I've seen that before. The radio will work. Maybe not as perfectly as it should, but the radio will work. They weren't bad. They were low in the green of the tester. So the 12SA7 was the tube that was no good. I mean, it was just bad. So I found a replacement, but it's a 12SA7 GT glass tube. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the difference and talk to you about when you're working on tube radios, things you have to look for, things you have to look out for. It's important to even have a tube manual. Ow, that hurt. Okay. have a tube manual. This one, I don't know, when was this printed? You can buy these things online. I don't know. This was like a 1960s, probably 1966. I've got a couple of these, but you can also go online and pull data sheets. Where's my data sheets? You can pull data sheets on all the tubes, so you have an understanding of what the tube is, what its function is, and how it's wired in. Okay, sometimes it's hard to see on the schematic the numbers that they put down, and some schematics don't have numbers down, so you don't know if it's the plate unless you know the tube configuration and what they look like. So it's important to have this information before you start digging into the radio. What I did do, and I'm going to dig into that 12SA7 because it raised a question that I think, to me, that I think I should go over with everybody. But what I did in the meantime, not being able to work on the electrical part of the radio, I worked on the cabinet. So I'm going to show you the cabinet, where I'm at, what I need to do to move forward. You ready? Okay, this is where I make everybody seasick because I'm no longer on the stand. So this isn't going to stay in, the radio's not in there. This piece here had to be glued back down. Right underneath here is a little slot. That slot in the Bakelite, you can just barely see it, but it's up in there, okay? That is where the light is that lights up the dial, okay? So it's important to have that clear. The brass, I used Simichrome to clean up the brass. I used some Bakelite, looks pretty good. It's funny, this is the first radio I've worked on that didn't have 100 little white paint spots on it from rollers, the way they spray paint around. Again, it's looking really nice. I'm happy with the way that's come out. I used some warm water and soap, mild detergent on here to clean up this is a 1949 radio, I believe, 1949. So this radio's, what is it, about 74 years old? I don't know. Can't count. All right, so there was a lot of dirt and grime and grease and cigarette, nicotine on it. Got all of that cleaned off. Looks pretty good. Again, that's not going to stay because the radio's not in there. This has to be polished yet. Once I finished cleaning it and dried it all up nice, I had to use Q-tips in all these slots, and I still have some to do. I'm not happy with the way it looks yet, but I'm going to get in there better with some more Q-tips and get that cleaned out. I used Novus number 2 on it, okay, and that got it looking a little bit better. And when that was done, I went over it with a neutral shoe polish. You could use Meguiar's car polish, a lot of things you could use. I just happened to have the neutral shoe polish down here in the shop, and that's what I decided to use. But again, I think it came out pretty good. All right, so let me swing you over. I'm gonna move the radio. Okay. What I want to show you, this was the 12SA7, and this is the, it's the converter oscillator tube. Where is it here? Hold on. Okay, I brought the tube over. The 12SA7 is a metal case tube, okay? The GT version, obviously GT is a glass tube. But what I want to show you on this tube, if you look at this, pin 1, okay, pin 1 has G5 connected to it. And when you look at the schematic, pin 1, well, this goes to the shell. Pin 1 goes to the chassis. Okay? On the glass tube, there's no connection. So, from what I understand, this tube should work fine as a replacement for this tube. When you're working on a radio, if it has a GT tube in it, be very careful about putting a straight 12SA7 in there. And the reason I say that is on the GT, there's no connection. And what the manufacturers did many times is they used those open pins as tie points for other parts. So if you plug this in, if you plug this tube in, you're going to be shorting it out to, shorting it out, I don't know if that's the right term, but you're going to be connecting it directly to the G5, whatever's hooked up to that pin, okay? So be very careful when you're using tubes. That's why it's important to pull this information, guys. It's out there. It's on the internet. You don't have to buy the tube manual. Go on the internet. Everything is there, all right? So that's one of the things I wanted to show you on the tubes, and it's important to note. Again, I'm not going to show you tube testing. I recorded the video, I looked at it, and I said, they'll kill me if I put this up. All righty. Okay. I've cleaned the chassis up a little bit, doing some work around here on it. Haven't actually replaced anything. I took the line cord out. I bought a new line cord and plugs for it. Again, the line cord, I know where it hooks up. I always leave little tails like this. All right. What I wanted to show you is, I'm going to show it to you again, but there's things just hanging in midair. Okay. It's just hanging here. And I noticed that. And then when I took this capacitor, I took this capacitor out of here, I noticed, where's my pointer? I noticed that this IF transformer looked different than this IF transformer. So when I flipped it over, there's numbers on it. And the numbers that are on this one do not match the numbers that are in the parts list, okay? So again, I don't know if that's the right one or not. There's a lot of stuff wrong in this radio, but this is not going to be a resurrection. This is going to be a full restore. I spent $25 on those damn little clips before I did some exploration on the radio, and my job now is to get this radio working. All right, and that's what I'm gonna leave off. Again, I did some cleaning. You can see the number that's on there is nothing like the number over here. This has a lot to be cleaned up on yet, but okay. So this radio might have been made in 1950 because it's a 50 on there. So this might be a 1950 radio. Radio's 2 years older than me. Okay. So that's it for this evening. Next week, I'm going to be doing some parts replacement with what I have. I do have parts out already. Okay. And I will start replacing parts and testing. All right. Very good, guys. Look forward. Hey, if you like it and you want to watch more, please hit subscribe. Makes me feel good when I see subscribers. Take care. Okay. So I want to get into this. I want to show you. I mean, look at whoever was in here working on this, really. Melted wires, bad solder. I mean, this, where is it here? This other lead this is horrible. If we look if we look over, where are we here? I'm having a hard time finding it in the camera. If we look here, this is just hanging in midair. I don't know what the heck this person did in here. I hate working on a radio like this, but I told you guys I was going to do this. It might be more than one session. If you can, well, you can't see too well down in here, but he's got, God, I can't get the light in there. If you can see down in here, where is everybody here? I mean, you look at this, you look down in here, this wire isn't even soldered down here. It's onto a mess of other stuff. I don't know what the hell he did, or whoever it did. But this is going to take some work. There's more burned wires up here. It's just the way I do things. Get this light. Yeah, up in here. You see burned wires. I can't deal with that. Just bad workmanship. If you're going to work on something, learn to do it and do it properly. By the way, I've checked all of these resistors. The resistors are all out of spec. This is a 0.01. It reads this one here. No, this one here, 0.01. It goes from here to the chassis. Again, this is not a hot chassis set. It has a B- loop here in the radio, but you also have this capacitor that goes from the line to the chassis. And this this 220K, which measures 330 K, is across that. So you've got, okay, a lot of work. I'm going to need to do a lot of work. There isn't a resistor in here that is within tolerance. So this is going to take a lot of work. Not sure how quickly I can get this done. But again, line cord is a little on the stiff side, so I'm not going to, I guess I could use it, but no, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to get another, it's an 18 gauge twin lead, no big deal. Get a 6-foot piece. I don't buy it in a roll. I buy it as I need it. Again, this is a lot of work. This is not just going to be a resurrection. I'm going to do this start to finish, do the whole thing, and do it right. So there you go. We'll see how this works out. But again, it is not going to be a quick resurrection. There's just too much to do here. I'm going to need to check, ohm out the coils, ohm out I believe this is the oscillator coil. I'm going to have to ohm that out, make sure that there's no broken wires there. If there is, I'm going to end the video because I'll just scrap this out and use it for parts. That's about all I could do. All right, so let's see how we go. Speaker's in good shape. And the volume control seems to be in good shape. On-off switch. It needs to be cleaned, but no big deal. They all do. We'll see. I will keep recording as I do it and then put it all together as a single video.